welcome to No Off Season. I'm Zena Cada.
I'm Sabreena Merchant.
And today on the show, it's the story that just keeps getting weirder and weirder and weirder. Yep, if that is all possible. Ben is hard at work. He is writing away while we record this first bit of the podcast, but he'll join us soon because he's got a crazy story to tell about those sex toys that have been hitting the courts in recent weeks. I don't know why that just sounded like as if they were like new shoes, but they're not. We got to talk about this.
Hitting the courts, quite literally landing on the courts.
Literally landing on the courts. Okay, but we got to get into some other things because at the time that we're recording this, the trade deadline just passed. I mean, literally minutes ago. And we thought it was going to be all quiet, but there was just a blip of movement. But first, let's get into the one that we almost predicted on the pod. Kind of. We did talk about Alysha Clark and a first rounder going to the East Coast. Did not land on Washington. We talked about Connecticut. Alysha Clark ends up in Alysha Clark and Zia Cooke and a first rounder ends up with the Washington Mystics in exchange for Brittney Sykes. I'm going to let Sabreena break down the exact details of this trade and the fallout from it and like in terms of what ended up happening with all these moving pieces. And I also want to get your takeaway because Sabreena, you mentioned this, that Seattle, could be a big contender this year. And I want to talk a little bit about how Sykes may contribute to that, or could she hinder that thought? Break it down.
So, Seattle is acquiring Brittney Sykes in exchange for Alysha Clark, Zia Cooke, and their first-round pick in the 2026 WNBA draft. So, Seattle currently 6th place in the WNBA standings. That would put their pick around 10th in the first round of the WNBA draft. So, middle of the pack first round pick. They could obviously get better as a course of this trade, so that would move the pick down a little bit. They also own LA's and Vegas's first round picks in the 2026 draft, which makes it a lot easier to move yours when you still have 2 incoming. Washington ended up waiving Zia Cooke and Sika Kone after completing this trade. So really all they're getting out of it is the pick and Alysha Clark, who did spend a year of her career with the Mystics back in 2022. She had signed for 2021 and 22, but missed 21 with an entire injury. So good for Clark that she gets to go back to an organization that she's at least somewhat familiar with. Good for the Storm to pick up Brittney Sykes, who will be a much bigger part of the rotation than Alysha Clark. As far as the contender thing, I will say I was asked about the Storm being a contender. I'm not sure that I ever landed on the Storm being a contender.
Okay.
I am very concerned about Seattle's offense. It is not as bad as it was last year when they were quite literally like the worst jump shooting team from 3-point range in like modern WNBA history. They're not like great on offense this year. They're like 9th in the league in offensive rating. And Brittney Sykes to me is like a little duplicative of Skylar Diggins' ball handling already, like, and that rim pressure, obviously in like a much different body type than Skylar Diggins.
Right, yeah.
But I think, you get another player who can run some offense, who can get downhill and get to the free throw line. Seattle, terrible at getting to the free throw line. So a player who can draw free throws as frequently as Brittney Sykes is a big addition. I was just hoping that they would get somebody who is more of a consistent shooting threat just to help the spacing. Because Gabby Williams, like super hot start to start the season, has sort of settled around 31% from 3-point range. Neko Gumake, not like a volume 3-point shooter. She's effective, I would say. Like, I like her better from the wings than the corners, but not a volume shooting threat, right? And then Dominique Malonga, Ezzy Magbogor are like not really shooting threats either. So you basically got Erica Wheeler, who's your main source of 3-point offense because Skylar is, with the ball in her hands. So if you replace Wheeler in the starting lineup with Sykes, which I've seen a lot of people suggest, on the one hand, good luck scoring on that defense. But on the other hand, I'm seeing a lot of missed jump shots, missed long twos turning into runouts for the opposing team. So I'm intrigued by the fit. It's not like what I would have suggested as the best option for Seattle, but I also understand like you're not going to roster 3 first-round picks in 2026. You have this opportunity to try to win a playoff series, and Alysha Clark, even though she's a big part of the veteran locker room, has been a big part of your franchise in the past, 2-time title winner with the Seattle Storm, not really contributing this season. So like it's a very low opportunity cost, I would say, but I'm curious what it's going to look like from an on-court perspective because, we're talking about a Seattle starting lineup that is maybe the second best among like 5-player lineups in the WNBA this season. So if you wanna tinker with that, like,
Yeah,
I'm getting, like, 2022 Seattle Storm vibes for those of you newer WNBA fans. The Seattle Storm had a team with, um, Sue Bird, Jewel Lloyd, Gabby Williams actually at the time too, Brianna Stewart, and Ezzie Magbegor that was just gangbusters,
it
during the
was
first part
insane.
of that 2022 season. And then they get an opportunity to bring in Tina Charles, as this midseason acquisition, and she replaces Ezzie in the starting lineup, and it just fit-wise was never quite the same. Like
Yeah,
talent, Tina Charles, obviously, I'm not denying
right.
that, but, you know, basketball games are not played on paper, right? We see that a lot. Like things have to fit together, and uh, we'll see how this one fits for the Seattle Storm.
I could have broken that down better I mean, of course, duh, that's why we call you, Sabrina, to ask that, but, yeah, my immediate instinct was perimeter defense for Seattle, great, awesome. They already had pretty good perimeter defense in my opinion, but the shooting element, I really thought that they were gonna find someone to space the floor. I actually would not be surprised if Noelle Quinn has Brittney Sykes coming off the bench as a spark plug in that second unit. I think that that was something that they were lacking. So I can imagine that could be giving them some depth at the guard position. But yeah, unless Brittney Sykes magically determines that, hey, you know what? I'm no longer going to be a pull up scorer. I'm going to find a way to score outside the arc. I don't see the offensive fit just yet. However, we'll get a chance to see it very soon because she's suiting up tonight at the time that we're recording this and the time you're listening to this. She'll be suiting up on Friday night against the Aces. All right, let's keep it going in the trade conversation because another juicy trade came down right before the deadline. And the Mystics were involved again. This time, Aaliyah Edwards being traded to Connecticut for Jacy Sheldon. Break this down. What happened here?
Yeah, so another Mystics trade, right? I was wondering if they had left an open roster spot, by waiving Sika Kone in order to potentially make another imbalance trade before the deadline. That's not what happened. This is a one-for-one player trade. It's Aaliyah Edwards going to Connecticut and JC Sheldon coming back to Washington, along with what may be the most meaningless pick swap in WNBA history. This is uh, so Washington owned Minnesota's first round pick, and Connecticut owns New York's first round pick. And now Washington has the right to swap Minnesota and New York's first round picks. Now, if you look at the WNBA standings, Minnesota in first, New York in second. So that is a one pick swap. You're moving up from 15th to 14th, potentially,
Woo!
in
There
that
you
first round.
go.
Now,
Moving on
maybe you're
up,
banking on the
Sabrina.
Liberty losing some games. I don't know, but that is the asset cost. I guess Aaliyah Edwards, a slightly better player in this estimation than JC Sheldon. One pick in the first round better than JC Sheldon.
Okay. Now I will say that this move, if you already had any confusion about Brittney Sykes leaving Washington, a playoff hopeful that's right on the cusp, that's been in that eighth spot, been in the ninth spot, been teetering back and forth, and you break up this backcourt duo of Brittney Sykes and Sonia Citron that had been playing so well together, and there was great chemistry out there for all of them with Brittney Sykes at the helm. Um, if you had any questions about, oh, maybe Washington's trying to go long game, then they move Aaliyah Edwards, who had been really struggling to break into a significant role in the forward big conversation in Washington. Shakira Austin, Kiki Iriafen, Stephanie Dolson, Aaliyah Edwards, like that was kind of like the mix we're talking about here. And we weren't seeing a ton of Aaliyah Edwards minutes. So earlier on this season, there was calls of like, does this make sense for Aaliyah to stay in Washington anymore? So, all right, you move Aaliyah Edwards. All right, you don't lose too much to your starting core or even your backup minutes in the big position. And you add JC Sheldon. Now, this is great because JC Sheldon is a wonderful perimeter defender. So you just got one out the door in Brittney Sykes and you get one back in with JC Sheldon. But what you don't get with JC Sheldon is the playmaking and the creation, the offensive creation. She's not that person. She's averaging about 7.5 points per game right now, one assist. She's not a playmaker. What she does is she makes good decisions, she's solid, and she defends. That is what you can count on. So I'm still confused. I don't know about you, Sabrina, but I'm still confused on what the prognosis is now with Washington in the moves that they made. Are they still trying to be a playoff contender, or could this be the long game here?
Yeah, I think it's pretty clear that they're not trying to be a playoff contender.
Okay,
The
got it. I just
Mystics
wanted
are
to make
making
sure.
these decisions with an eye on the future, which, has basically been telegraphed since the start of the season, right? They trade away Ariella Atkins for future
Right.
assets,
Yep.
trade away Carly Samuelson for a future pick, which was somewhat involved swap in this particular deal. So the whole season has been with the future in mind. We had talked before the draft, like it's a little awkward if they draft Kiki Iriafen because they already have so many bigs. Like, what's it going to mean for everybody else? Well, what it means is that you like Kiki
One
better and
less
you move
go.
on from somebody else. That's what it means.
There you
So,
go.
sorry, Aaliyah Edwards. That injury in the preseason really changed her whole trajectory because she fell behind Kiki in the rotation, and then there was no way of taking that spot back because Kiki Iriafen was absolutely crushing it, continues to absolutely crush it. So you look at, the Mystics going forward, I think it clarifies their positional imbalance a little bit, right? You have your front court group of Shakira Austin, Kiki Iriafen, maybe Emily Engsler slots in there now because she
Yeah.
gets to be your backup four. And then you have your guard group of Sonia Citron, Jade Melbourne, now potentially Jacy Sheldon, Georgia Amore coming in, right? So they're going to have to make some decisions about which of those six they want to protect in a potential expansion draft. Again, we don't have the rules for those yet, but presumably those will come down the pipeline at some
Yeah.
point. But it does just make it clear of like who your starting front court of the future is with Kiki and Shakira Austin, and honestly allows you to potentially draft another front court player in 2026 to see how they fit in with that group going forward. As far as Connecticut, they sort of had the opposite situation, right, where you had Layla Lacan, Sanaya Rivers, really outstanding guard prospects. And like, where does JC Sheldon fit in with them, especially if you want to have a more traditional point guard alongside them, like a Bria Hartley or, more shooting with Marina, maybe like a veteran presence. Now you get to add a young big into that front court of the future alongside Olivia Nelson-Adota. I'm still not sure what position Anissa Morrow is. I feel like her
Yeah,
and
she could be a
Edwards can
3,
still
could be a
kind of play
4.
alongside one another as a 3-4, but we'll see how
Yeah.
that goes going forward. But I think they identified like we don't really have a quote unquote power forward. Aaliyah fits in with what we're trying to do. She's from Connecticut. Who knows how long the Sun will be in Connecticut, but at least next season they will be in Connecticut. And so that's nice. You're reuniting the 2022 UConn Huskies front court that went to the national title game. Um, I like it for both sides just because of the positional imbalances they had on their rosters. And it's kind of like a challenge trade, right? Like, we like Jacy Sheldon, but we think Aaliyah Edwards makes more sense for what we're trying to do. We like Aaliyah Edwards, but we think Jacy Sheldon makes more sense for what we're trying to do. They were taking one pick apart from each other last year in the WNBA draft. The swap is one pick apart from one another. Like, it's a very even trade on both sides. It's
There you
just,
go.
we're trying to figure
Yeah.
out what we like better.
Right, exactly. No, I think that's a really great way to frame it, in laying it out where this fits our puzzle pieces better, and it's also not a drastic drop off from what we're doing, right? In the sense of what we gave up versus because sometimes we might need a guard, but the post we're giving up to get that guard is like significant, right? So I think that that's a really great way that Morgan Tuck, Jamila Weideman figure that out in between those two programs as the GMs. All right, let's keep going. No more trades. As of the deadline is passed, can't be squeaking them in, okay? But there have been some injuries around the WNBA. We know this is a big conversation right now with the schedule being as crazy as it is. We're seeing a lot more injuries than typical. But let's just give you guys some really quick injury updates and some check-ins. So we now know Napheesa Collier will be out at least 2 weeks with an ankle injury. And then Angel Reese has a back injury, but there's been no true timetable for her return. Anything you quickly have on that, Sabreena, in terms of updates there?
Yeah, so Napheesa Collier, the team reported that she'll be evaluated in a couple weeks. ESPN clarified that it was going to be at least, 2 weeks. We'll see how the timeline works out there. What that means is she probably won't be playing against the Liberty in any of those three upcoming matchups, which
Dang.
are all happening back to back to back for the Minnesota Lynx.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's a fun way of heading into the postseason where you will have probably seen four matchups between the Lynx and the Liberty, and none of them will have included Napheesa Collier and Brianna Stewart. So that sucks. As far as
Yeah.
Angel Reese, Chicago, their season has not gone the way they would have hoped. Um, Ordinarily, you'd try to make a playoff push at this point of the season because Chicago does not own its 2026 first round pick. That is going to Minnesota. Can you imagine the Minnesota Lynx potentially winning the title this year and then getting the number
And
one pick
getting a
in the WNBA draft?
I
Um,
know.
but, Angel Reese, this is your long term future. You got to be
Crazy.
careful. So,
Yeah.
especially after seeing what we saw with Caitlin Clark having repeated muscle injuries in the same sort of area, I would imagine they're going to be as judicious as possible with Angel in this upcoming stretch.
Yep. Let her throw some fits on the sideline. Make sure those boots and heels are low to the ground. And yeah, that's all that they need to be concerned about right there. Please, hoping both Collier, Angel Reese, everyone dealing with injuries, just speedy but healthy and smooth recoveries. Okay, now we're going to talk about something I really didn't ever think that we talk about on this show again. Yes, it's the sex toys. You throw one on the court, and maybe it's funny, it's silly, it's a WTF moment. You throw two on the court, okay, it's getting a little weird. And it's getting suspect. And in this past week, it happened again. And it was a coordinated effort because we saw it on multiple games. Someone threw another bright green sex toy on the court at the Sparks and Fever game in LA. It narrowly missed Sophie Cunningham, and then it got a nice roundhouse kick from Kelsey Plum off the court. And then someone tried to do it again, but it was stopped at the Liberty Wings game in Brooklyn on Tuesday. So this is not a coincidence. It's not funny anymore, and it feels very different and not great. And we're going to get Ben Pickman here to give us a little bit more depth right after this. Okay, Ben, I'm so happy you're here because the anticipation around this story and what's going on and all the questions I've been seeing all over the internet. I'm like, Ben's on it. I got to be patient. Let's just wait till he gets here and we could talk all about it. So, before we dive into this, like what you've all found, I need to talk to you about how you found it. Because I'm not a reporter in the way that you and Sabreena are. I don't know what it looks like. I don't even know where you start with tracking the line from the green dildo on a basketball court back to anywhere substantial. So, when you first saw the green sex toy, what was your first instinct as a reporter to figure out what's happening here?
I mean, I think it is just that. It's trying to figure out what's happening here, who might be behind this. Is this a coordinated effort? And just what can we learn about the intentions or motivations of the people behind it, or who at least say they're the people behind it, Zena?
So, where do you start? Like, what was like step one? I don't even know
Do you
where I
just
would
start
start. First,
Googling
you know what? I'll tell you
green
what I will do.
dildo?
Right. Okay. So my first instinct would be to Google it, right? But then be very, very scared about what I'm going to see on the other side. But I'd also be, and this is the capitalist person in me, be like, should I check Amazon to see what are the reviews right now or the sales on green dildos? Because it was just crazy when I saw the second one. There can't be this many for sale around the country. Um, so where did you go first?
Yeah, this has been a rabbit hole of a story. It's been a very weird last few days for me in just exploring different threads related to this story. I would say earlier this week, someone kind of sent me a text that basically said that a organization, or that might be an organization, might be behind some of the recent incidents that we have seen involving dildos being thrown onto WNBA courts, successfully or unsuccessfully so. And then some of this was then kind of hiding in plain sight. There was a video that surfaced on Twitter of a snippet of a Twitter, like, I guess, streams and X streams conversation that led me down into trying to find out the site and the handle and the website and anything else I could about where this clip is coming from and the people that were involved with it. And then that sent me down an even bigger rabbit hole involving Memecoin and cryptocurrency and looking up domain names and looking up messages and memes on Telegram and just a lot of listening to streams. I've listened to more than 5 hours of streams this week from this group Green Dildo Coin online. And yeah, that has been a big part of my week and my reporting process to get this story out.
I mean, to be clear, like Ben is like lost himself in this because he says this week it's been like maybe 30 hours. So like 5 of the 30 hours have been spent listening
Yeah.
to the stream.
Listen,
Yeah,
he couldn't
I
come up
have
for air. He didn't know what was going on. Okay.
I mean, that is true. I've been listening sometimes on 1.5 speed, sometimes on 2 times speed, taking notes, recordings, just trying to learn as much as I can about some of the people who say, or at least are connected to, the recent incidents, especially on Tuesday nights, games that saw, dildos being tossed and not tossed in various WNBA arenas.
Ben, I'm imagining a It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia board with lines of index cards, pictures of green sex
Gateway Center
apparatuses,
and Staples
like
Center.
right, Staples, right, exactly, like Chase Center, like trying to figure out what's happening in all these different arenas, who's involved, a picture of Kelsey Plum's foot kicking one, um, all connecting the dots. If that's true or not, please let me know. But also, when you did start to connect the dots, tell us what was revealed to you.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot that I think is revealing in this piece, and I would recommend people checking it out because it gets into some complicated things about, again, crypto and meme coin and these terms that I'll explain, and the text also explains. What I would say is, you mentioned all these webs, all the pictures and printouts and what you imagine. I want to begin this part of the story with the movie Inglorious Bastards. Have you seen
Mm.
Inglorious
I
Bastards?
have indeed, yes.
Okay, so in that movie there's a character played by Brad Pitt, Lieutenant Aldo Rain. I assume you
Ridiculous
can.
character.
Yes. Do you want to say anything about Lieutenant Aldo Rain, Zena?
I don't know. I was gonna use the wrong word. He's confident. I was gonna say a different word that goes with what we're talking about right now, but he's an arrogant person and yeah, Sabrina got it. Okay, keep going, Ben. Just you
There
take
you
it from
go.
here. I gotta focus.
Because basically, Green Dildo Coin launched its Twitter account on July 28th. And basically, its apparent founder is named Lieutenant Daldo Rain. That appears to be a little bit of a spoof on that character's names. And basically, the first Twitter Spaces that is posted to this account is a nearly 15-minute, I guess speech is the right word, kind of spoofing the opening speech that Brad Pitt's character gives in that movie. So that is kind of one interesting thread that I went down watching some Inglorious Bastards clips in
Okay.
preparation or in the process of this reporting. But basically, the identities of who is behind Green Dildo Coin, they are unknown. And it kind of reflects this like broader state of play in the internet right now, right? That a lot of this appears to be born out of the murky and often mysterious corners of internet culture and social media, and the opportunistic plays in cryptocurrency. And basically, Green Digital Coin launched in, end of July 27, July 28th, though its domain was registered earlier, a week earlier or so, and a storefront launched even earlier in July, right? So they're kind of laying the foundation, it appears.
I'm happy you talked about the fact that one, we don't know who these people are. We not only don't know who these people are, I don't know what these people are about. Because you say meme coin, you've said meme coin now a few times, and I still don't understand memes. I feel like they're kind of like what's the MPTs or what were they called?
NFTs.
NFTs.
Wow, I sound so old. NFTs. Ooh, guys, this is bad. All right, I'm the old lady on this podcast officially. Here we go. NFTs. I feel like I just like don't get what they are. How do they acquire value? Like, what's the point? So, give me the breakdown on the meme
Yeah,
coins.
so meme coins are a novelty digital asset,
Like an NFT.
originating
Okay.
from a meme, right? So they're part of this odd intersection of jokes that turn into something that users try and spin into an asset with more value. So think about the memes that you have seen online as it relates to, the dildos being tossed into WNBA arenas and all the memes that have been created, all the jokes that some people have made online related to the incidents. And basically, the thought is that those memes, by gaining public attention, help to increase the value of this meme coin cryptocurrency that is Green Dildo Coin. Does that make some sense? So by drawing some attention to the matter,
Yeah.
in theory, the price of this coin is increasing. And we have actually seen that over the past week. The value of, this dildo cryptocurrency has nearly tripled over the last week. And a lot of that is because it seems like of the attention that this story has gotten, that these incidents have gotten, and we have seen just a boost in value in the coin itself.
Sabreena, do you have thoughts on that? Because I don't. I don't
Want to
know what to.
sound like a Luddite, but the idea of a meme coin is so stupid to me that you would
Thank
just
you. Okay,
buy
you said what I thought.
currency in the fact that like something is a joke, and by buying more of the coin goes in value, and then like the people who made the joke just sell it off, and everybody else who tried to get in on the joke is just stuck like with a devalued coin is uh, I hate all of it. But continue,
I do
Ben. Like,
too.
so they
Yeah,
Thank
have
you,
the
Ben.
meme coin, green
so
dildo
they have the
coin,
meme
yes,
coin,
and then
exactly,
yeah.
and the people involved with it, and this comes from a lot of the streams that I have listened to. They say that basically they're trying to, I don't know if revolutionize is the word, but make a statement in cryptocurrency, like be these kind of people that change how, I guess, crypto kind of works. Like they literally say at one point, one person does, that the whole mission of this was to focus on making an impact in crypto culture. That it's empowering every effing crypto community to start thinking outside the box. That's a quote. To get creative and effing do something that makes people actually laugh. That is one of the quotes that I dug up from the
So
streams that I've listened to. Yeah.
what is different about this meme coin relative to other meme coins? Like, what is the disruption that green dildo coin is creating?
I mean, I think they would say that they are proud of the fact that they've attracted natural attention without having to like give away any of the coin itself or to sell off like stakes in the coin to high profile people, that they've basically garnered organic interest because of these incidents. And so
So they've
that is why
revolutionized marketing, is what they're saying.
That's basically. I, I'm, guys. My head hurts. I'm not even gonna lie to you. Because one, it hurts because who's buying these coins? I just want to know. There's so many questions I have here, but we are not a crypto
You're a women's basketball
podcast.
podcast, so
And we
let's
are a
try to
women's basketball
refocus
podcast.
this. Yeah.
So I'm gonna try and refocus this. Like I'm listening to you, Ben, and I hear you, but I'm just like, I don't know what the hell is going on. So here's the thing. Cryptocurrency, vague concept, but the women's basketball games, real concepts. These are real places in which this dildo scheme has been enacted and executed. And we've seen names behind, the people that have thrown them out. We've seen arrests, at least. There's been thoughts around this. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. When the first dildo got thrown out, my immediate impact, or not impact, my immediate thought was power. Someone is reclaiming the power in a tool that is used within the queer community. And of course, the WNBA community is filled with queer people. The WNBA itself is filled with queer athletes. I thought this was a semblance, a symbol of empowerment. And then the second one got thrown out, and the third one got thrown out. And I was just like, we're losing the sense of power here. We're losing this. We're losing the plot here. Now this is becoming weird. As you were finding out about this cryptocurrency stuff, did any of that weirdness come to play? Did you see or hear anything that indicated why WNBA games, what they felt about WNBA players, why this symbol in this setting?
To your question, Zena, of did I hear anything weird throughout this reporting process? I think the answer to that I can say is firmly yes. This was definitely, as I said, an unusual reporting process to go down. But to the question of why the WNBA, I mean, in multiple live streams I listened to, members who were community members, I guess, on the streams did, voice crude humor about the WNBA. There were jokes made about WNBA viewership, for instance, and a lot of memes circulated in the community's Telegram, often juxtaposing, a dildo into the hands of WNBA players, right? And I think that, is reflective of some people's feelings of the league at large. I mean, again, they would say that the mission at the core was to change crypto, but it appears that, the WNBA and its athletes are central to the joke regardless of the founder's intentions, right? And no matter how players have reacted, that the incidents, again, whether they are intentional or not, or how intentional or not, have sparked opportunities for detractors. I think this is unquestioned to mock the league and women's sports more generally. And we definitely heard, we've heard some people in the WNBA say that a lot over the past couple of days. Cheryl Reeve came out very strongly on Thursday. And she said basically, the sexualization of women is what's used to hold women down. And this is no different. I mean, she said point blank that these people, quote, are doing this. The people that are doing this should be held accountable, that we're not the butt of the joke. They're the problem. Like, that was Cheryl's comments on the matter. And so no matter what the kind of stated mission or intention of these people are, again, like, yeah, they have definitely taken some shots along the way in these conversations at the WNBA. And it's opened up, opportunities aplenty for people to make fun of the league that, might not have been following the league as closely heading into, the last 8 or 9 days.
Yeah, I think that's the clearest takeaway for me is, you see the first one, like you said, Zena, and, Jordan Canada's like shocked face as it's happening in the Atlanta Golden State game. And it like almost seems like an accident. Like it's kind of funny. Like, oh my God, can you believe this thing happened on a WNBA game? And now they are making the WNBA the butt of the joke, right? Like they are making the players have to deal with this. They're throwing things at professional athletes at their place of work. It's dangerous, first of all. It's demeaning.
Yep.
And it is one, I don't understand the connection. Like, did they think that their best way of generating like a viral moment would be WNBA games? Like, was that part of the disruption scheme? Or is it just because, oh no, this is a great way of like dehumanizing female athletes and making them the butt of the joke?
I mean, what we have seen, and for this story, we connected with an NYU professor who's an expert on blockchain and cryptocurrency, and basically, like, crypto can cost almost nothing to make. They're essentially free, but they can generate all this money, and you can kind of get it going very quickly. And so, with the WNBA, this professor told us, like, he said that the dildo throwing incidents were basically an excuse for bad actors to hijack, and these are, this academic's words, existing negativity and convert it into attention, right? Like, this served as an opportunity for, again, in this person's mind, the bad actors to jump into the space, to make their opinions known and spin it into attention, which then jacks up the price of this meme coin, right? So that's kind of, the apparent connection in reporting this out between the attention, the incidents, and the crypto angle, and the effects of what has happened here.
What's so fascinating is the timing of this, right? Ben, Sabreena, correct me if I'm wrong, has there been a dildo or sex toy incident before like this in the WNBA?
I don't think there has been in the WNBA, but there was a toy thrown at an NFL game in 2018, a Buffalo Bills game.
Bills, right.
Yeah.
Yes. I am familiar that one's almost seen almost as like a tradition, which is strange. Bills fans, if you're listening, please correct me if I'm wrong, how that was treated or how that was received. But this is happening right now in the WNBA, who just this season announced the No Place for Hate campaign to address all of the hate and negativity that is being hijacked for attention in the WNBA, the ways in which these players are being discussed in the dark corners of the internet. I'm really loving every single way that you've put all of this, Ben, because it's coming out now, and I'm looking at this, and I was asking about what you were hearing on these chats because I'm wondering, a lot of us are realizing and seeing this and labeling this as misogynistic, homophobic, transphobic, um, homophobic, and really dehumanizing, as Sabreena said. And now it's a matter of, okay, the WNBA is on it. They're investigating it. They're looking to do something about this. But what does it do for the space? How are the players feeling? How are fans feeling? What have you gathered from that perspective?
Yeah, I mean, I think we have seen, as Sabreena said, we have seen players take this increasingly more seriously and echo a lot of the sentiments that both, Zena said and Sabreena have just said over the past couple of days. Like, the few who might have initially laughed or chuckled at the initial incident on July 29th, I think the tenor has totally changed. I mean, I read out Cheryl Reeves' statement. We saw Lynn Roberts. I mean, she called it, ridiculous, dumb, stupid, the Sparks coach did after the incident on Tuesday night. We've seen Elizabeth Williams, the Chicago Sky center, call it super disrespectful. We've seen teams take an increasingly, diligent role here. Team spokesman for the New York Liberty confirmed to me in the course of reporting this story out that, the team is now looking into the incident on Tuesday night. And we should say on Tuesday night, for those who don't know, someone did throw a dildo or allegedly threw a dildo in the stands of Barclays Center. It never actually reached the court, but there was video and photo that was shared of one kind of on the floor of the stands in that arena. And so they're cooperating with law enforcement. I can also say from this story that the WNBA, a league source told me, is aware of the stream that, we've talked about throughout this episode. So they are aware of it. Now, what does that actually mean? That's a good question, right? And it goes back to what you said a couple minutes ago about how do you respond to this? How do you curtail it potentially? How do you keep players safe? How do you keep fans safe? And that is both physical safety, emotional safety, mental safety, knowing that, you're not playing a game. You don't have to risk playing a game and having one of these objects fly down and hit you in the first quarter or the second quarter or the fourth quarter, whatever it is, right? So those are all some of the questions that I'm still thinking about, and I know a lot of people are, as to how does the league respond to this? Do policies need to change? What do you do, right? Because clearly it has been not so difficult to sneak these into stadiums, right? That metal detectors, despite fans going through metal detectors, have not been able to pick them up, right? Does that change going forward? I will say too, over the course of the reporting this story, like one person on the stream does acknowledge that if they're too disruptive in the WNBA space for too long, that people will get pissed off. Now, you can argue that maybe they've been too disruptive for too long already. I'm looking at your face, Zena. I think I know your answer, your reaction to that statement. But, they acknowledge that they might try and find bigger events or creative ways to get the camera on them. They brought it to, or someone brought it to, I should say, a green sex toy at Wednesday night's Miami Marlins game. There was a photo that circulated, again, of
Why would you
a
pick the
green
Marlins
dildo
for
in that game.
maximum impact at a baseball game?
Sabrina, that is a good question. You're going to have to do some digging on the Miami Marlins attendance and
Oh my gosh.
why the Marlins over anything else. But yeah, I mean, we'll see if it happens at other events. That is another question here going forward as this story continues.
It does seem like the WNBA is kind of reacting in real time just as we are. I mean, we saw the league put out a statement after the second such incident saying that, people who threw things onto the court would be, banned for a year from WNBA games, Ben? Is that what it was?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I don't think we've seen any updates to the No Space for Hate video that appears before the start of every WNBA game. There's nothing in there about like throwing projectiles onto the court that hasn't made its way. It's still the same clip that we were seeing from the start of the season. Zena, I think you posted online that like there was no change in the bag policy for the Valkyries game against the Aces on Wednesday night. I haven't heard of any adjustments in Los Angeles to the bag policy. They play 2 days after their incident on Thursday night. So, I mean, like the WNBA after, 3 potential separate incidents on Tuesday night did not have a new statement about the increasing spate of incidents, right? So, I guess the fact is it's like incredibly weird and unexpected, and the league kind of doesn't know what to do in this situation.
I think weird and unexpected are very good words here, Sabreena. And there's definitely still, as we've said, a lot we don't know. This group, for instance, hasn't even claimed the connection between the person who was arrested in Atlanta. They have basically, one person said on the stream I listened to, should we pay this person's bail? And just say, use it as an act to say that they support green dildo throwers. Yes, that is a sentence that I just uttered on this podcast. Couldn't have imagined that when we launched the show. But what I will say, too, is like when I mentioned some of the reporting that I had with different sources of mine in the course of reporting it out, like I felt like I was putting on, some of the specifics of this story to a lot of people. Like a lot of people, when I asked them if they knew anything about this stream, if they knew anything about this group, if they had looked into it. Like a lot of people initially had some of the same puzzled looks and same questions that you guys did. And so I guess you're in good company for asking those questions, and hopefully we were able to satisfy you at least partially and fill in some answers on this very complicated and unusual stories.
One thing I've learned from this story is that it is impossible to talk about sex toys without, like, being very careful with your language, and no matter what words you use, like, there are double entendres just every which way you
Lurking
try to talk
everywhere.
about this. But secondly, like, I guess what I keep coming back to is if the green dildo coin community is not claiming, like, responsibility for the first person who threw, a dildo at the Atlanta Dream game, what was it, last Tuesday, then did they just decide, like, "Oh, that's a great idea, we should claim responsibility for it and turn this into our method of, attention seeking?" Or did someone get out ahead of their plan? Like, it still seems like they're obviously talking a big game about disrupting, this crypto space, but it also kinda seems
Yes.
haphazard to me, like, it just sort of happened to them.
Yeah, that's a
Go
fair
ahead, Ben.
question. That's a fair question, Sabrina, and one that like I'm definitely still trying to figure out because, in some of the messages that I reviewed, members of the community were alerting others to watch the Atlanta Dream Golden State Valkyries game on July 29th. And as I said, this coin basically went on the market on the day before this July 29th game. The Twitter account launched, I think, the day or two before. Again, this Atlanta Dream Golden State Valkyries game, the first game in which a dildo flew onto the court. So, the exact link on that incident, I think, is definitely one thing that I'm curious about or want to learn more about. And I guess I will continue to listen to these streams and read
Get real
these
buddy-buddy with Lieutenant
messages
Daldo.
and try and understand more about the Memecoin community here, Zena and Sabreena. You can add cryptocurrency expert to my title and my beat. A couple weeks ago was Red Panda, so this one is
Yeah.
definitely another strange turn in
I think you should go back
my
to Red Panda,
reporting.
get us an injury report on how she's doing post-fall. We
It
haven't
feels a
heard in
little
a
bit
very long
better.
time. Yeah. Will
Yeah.
she be available for the WNBA playoffs? Like, that is much more of what I would wanna be talking about.
I cannot believe we're here. Guys, this is exactly why you need to be liking and subscribing and sharing because Ben is going undercover in these crypto communities as they're talking crazy about green dildos in the WNBA. I cannot believe the conversation that we just had. My only thing, I don't know how this is gonna happen. Bring back shame. Bring it back. I think it went out I don't know if it went out of sale or something a long time ago, but bring back shame because this is the dumbest thing I have ever heard. Ben, you are not for covering this. Thank you so much for covering this. But this is the dumbest thing that we have ever had to talk about. I am so sorry that we're even here, but alas. Okay,
I
let's
just wanna
close it
add
out,
one
y'all.
thing because
Oh, go
we
ahead.
are, like, clearly having a good time talking about all of this, and there are some ridiculous and funny, like, tentacles to this whole situation. I wanna get back to the fact that it's really, really offensive to the
That's
WNBA
what I'm
and its
stating.
players.
It's shameful.
It is,
Exactly.
like, saying all of these words aloud, obviously, like, we're laughing, and it makes it seem like it's not as serious as it actually is. It is it's such a bad look for the league. It's making, the players the butt of a joke, and
Yeah.
just I'm hugely offended by it, just having, like, been in the building as one of these things was happening. I can't even imagine how much the players hate it, and, like, I hate that we're talking about it, but it's obviously something that has taken hold of the league, and like, there are people who are using the WNBA as a means of making a statement, which is a place
Yeah.
I never thought we were gonna be in.
Yeah, it's shameful. Imagine you're sitting on a bus and your shoulder gets hit and tapped by something and you look down and it's a dildo. Imagine how you'd feel. How disgusted you'd feel. How little you'd feel. These women are trying to work, play basketball, and they're having these things thrown at them. It's just, ugh, yuck. Anywho, we got other things to talk about, like setting our screens. Let's get into that. Okay, it is Friday, so you know what that means. It is time to set your screens presented by BetMGM. The king of the big swing is making the best day of the week even sweeter. So here's how you can knock off bomb of a bonus bet into your account on Fridays throughout this season. Let's set your screens. Sabrina, I feel like we have a screen setting sharing moment right now that's gonna happen between teams in our vicinities.
Yeah,
Where are
lest
you setting
anyone
your
accuse
screen?
us of being homers, Valkyries Sparks is the game to watch this weekend. Let me explain why.
Absolutely.
Um, Sparks on a bit of a heater of late, winners of
A
7 of their
bit.
last 9. Yeah,
A
you know,
bit.
playing very well since
Yes.
the consolidation of the roster, everybody getting back and healthy. I tell you, it is so funny at Crypto.com Arena when they announce the injury report at the start of the games and they say the Sparks have no injury reports, and it is a party. It
I
is so
bet.
funny because when was the last time that happened, right? Yeah.
Right. Oh my
Anyway,
gosh.
so you've got the Sparks attempting to make a playoff push. Golden State currently in 8th place at the time of this recording. If the Sparks end up beating the Sun on Thursday night, they will be tied for that 8th spot, to make the playoffs. But Golden State currently has
Mhm.
the tiebreaker because they're up 2-1 in the season series. This is the
Exactly.
last game in the season series. So if it turns into 2-2, you'd have to think the Sparks have a slight edge because then they'd have, a game up on the Golden State Valkyries after beating them. If Golden State wins, now not only are they a game up, but they also have the 3-1 tiebreaker edge. So massive, massive seeding implications for this game. And again, two teams who we talk a lot about rivalry. I don't know if there is a rivalry yet, but this could be the nice start of one if they're battling for playoff
Oh,
position
yeah.
in the Valkyries' inaugural season.
For sure. And I think you mentioned the seeding implications. I think this is an identity implication for the Valkyries. Right now, they've been really struggling offensively, trying to get their mojo back. Their defense is there. But after going through that blowout loss to Las Vegas and then losing heartbreakingly at home, which they don't do very often, you can tell they are in desperate need of not only a bounce back game, but a game that reassures them that they're in exactly the position that they need to be, which is in that playoff contention position. So, I think that I would hope that this is gonna be a competitive game. We saw Rakia Jackson and Kelsey Plum drop 25 each the other night, against the Fever. You're like, "Oh, this is getting scary. Okay." We'll see what what they do against the Sun, but this is a big game for both teams, and I don't know. I definitely will be I mean, I'll be working it, but I'll also be
It's the
watching
kind of
it
game that
for
makes me want to come up to the Bay for the weekend and check it out.
I'm
That's how
telling
excited
you,
I
this
am
will
for
be
this
a
particular
fun one.
matchup. Yeah.
And you should know, the best games that Carla Late and Janelle Salon have had this season have come against the Sparks.
In Los
So
Angeles, they've looked like the very best
and
players in this rookie class in those 2
correct.
games.
And in Los Angeles, they have killed them. So anyways, let's keep it going. I am going to be setting my screen to Las Vegas versus Seattle on Friday night. And mainly because I want to see what this Brittney Sykes situation looks like. I think, Sabrina, you laid it out perfectly. There's some questions as to, is she going to start? Is she going to come off the bench? How is that offense going to run? Is she going to be ball dominant when she's out there? I mean, this is going to be very interesting to see how the puzzle pieces fit together. These are all veterans, though, we're talking about. I mean, outside of, Dominique Malonga, like, everyone in that the Sabrina, I was gonna say the Sabrina Storm. Everyone in the Seattle Storm situation has played overseas. They played in the WNBA for a very long time. They know how to adjust and adapt. And I'm very curious as to how well this experiment is going to work. And then also the Aces. They bounced back after their terrible 53-point loss against the Lynx by giving a 30-point win over the Valkyries and then another win away at Valhalla on Wednesday night. Can they keep this streak going? Can things keep going and turning around? And right now, I'm loving the way that Jewel Lloyd is starting to pick up her game. We saw her kind of have a quiet July, I think, and now she's picking it back up in August. So we'll see what happens there. That's where we're setting our screens to. That's all we've got for you guys today. We'll be back on Tuesday to break down anything and everything that happens over the weekend and a whole lot more. And until then, if you haven't already, please follow our show and friends. If you're watching on YouTube, like, subscribe, do all the things that influencers say. But we're not influencers, we're reporters. We're telling you what's up in the women's world of basketball. The women's world of basketball. This is why you have to like and subscribe, because it's content like this you don't want to miss out on. And make sure you tell your friends about us, tell your mama about us, tell your cousin about us, tell your coworker about us, tell everyone about us. And while you're at it, tell us what you think about us. Give us a rating. let us know. Reach out to us. We love hearing from you guys. And head on over to our partner, Yahoo Sports Hub, for more women's sports content. sports.yahoo.com/women's-sports. On behalf of The Athletic, on behalf of Ben Pickman, Sabreena Merchant, I'm Zena Cada, thanking you for listening, and we will see you next time. Thanks for tuning in to No Off Season. To hear more, be sure to like and subscribe. We drop new episodes every Tuesday and Friday.